Let's talk about misuse of prescription painkillers and former athletes. What are the predictors? What might be a window onto that for former players?
Well, Bob, the researchers at Washington University in St. Louis, led by Professor Linda Kotler, a professor of epidemiology, I should say, they found three main predictors: pain, which perhaps isn't surprising, but also heavy drinking and undiagnosed concussions. They were very surprised to find a strong link between misuse and heavy drinking and undiagnosed concussions. Let me just give you a couple numbers. Of the former NFL players who said they don't currently use prescription painkillers, 8% had 20 or more drinks over the past week when they were surveyed. Of the guys who said they did misuse prescription painkillers in the past 30 days, 27% had 20 or more drinks. That's a fifth of liquor. Nearly a third of them had 15 or more drinks. And that's very concerning, because when you mix painkillers with alcohol, which is a sedative, that can lead to overdose, and frequently does. And as far as concussions, the undiagnosed concussions were a very strong predictor, according to the researchers. They found that the players who misused, 98% of them, almost all of them, reported having an undiagnosed concussion, compared to 79% for the non-users. So they found that to be statistically relevant.
All right, let's now introduce into our conversation Dr. Wilson Compton. He is from the National Institute on Drug Abuse, and he directs the Epidemiology Division. Doctor, it's good to have you here. You have heard the National Football League criticism through its medical expert, the criticism of this study, that it's an unfair comparison between athletes and the general population, that athletes have had an exposure to these drugs already while playing. What is your reaction to that?
Well, I think it's essential that we have some context for this study. And so a comparison with the overall population is about the best we can do. We certainly understand that when we find a difference between rates, the next question is, well, why? And the exposure to plenty of pain earlier in their career might be part of the explanation. It makes a lot of sense to me. I was particularly intrigued by the predictors of misuse, though, that we saw the undiagnosed concussions and that heavy alcohol consumption being predictors as well, being risk factors for currently misusing narcotics.
John, let me ask you this question in your reporting. What has changed in the everyday availability of painkillers for people in the general population?
Well, the football players we spoke to, dozens of them, past and present, really helped a fairly clear picture emerge for us. What they told is a story of NFL teams tightening their ships, getting their own houses in order, if you will. Pills aren't just handed out. It's not as casual as it was back in, say, the 80s, for example. But outside that NFL bubble in society, we have seen an exponential growth in the abuse of prescription painkillers. It's now to the point where overdoses on prescription painkillers surpass overdoses on heroin and cocaine combined. We are in a prescription painkiller epidemic, according to substance abuse counselors. So the point is, for NFL players, these pills are highly accessible outside of the NFL bubble. And one of the things that the research revealed is that 63% of the players, while they played, those 63% of the guys who used while they played, 63% of them said they got the pills from somebody other than a doctor. They got it from a trainer, coach, teammate, family member, the internet. They're getting these pills outside of NFL medical circles. And that's a problem. They're doing so because they want to mask pain, mask injuries, and stay on the field. And it's a bad formula.
Yeah, Dr. Compton, with all of the findings of the study rolled up and read and assimilated, how significant scientifically is this?
Well, I think this helps us understand the complex relationship of pain, of injury, and self-image, and why people might begin to take these things on their own outside of a doctor's supervision. It tells me that we need to do a better job in our healthcare system of asking people about their use of drugs, both that I as a physician might have prescribed for them, as well as ones they may be taking on their own. That's the kind of work at the National Institute on Drug Abuse that we hope to promote, so that we can get a much better handle on this and do a better job of preventing complications.